Let's go!
Hola my friends, welcome back to another What I Eat in a Week video. So happy to be back. I haven't filmed one in several weeks, so here we are. If you don't know me, my name is Julia, and I am somebody that likes to advocate on intuitive eating, intuitive living, but with an emphasis on nourishing your body and your soul. So here we are drinking a matcha on this lovely morning of day one of What I Eat in a Week. If you have not heard me preach this in the past, please froth your milk with a French press, particularly one with a higher protein level. For breakfast this morning, I chopped up an orange and snacked on that while I was getting everything else together. I am dicing up an apple and I'm gonna throw it into a pot along with some cinnamon, nutmeg, clove, and a touch of water. I'm going to throw that onto the stove and stew these apples. However, I forgot to mention I added a touch of salt and some vanilla extract. Don't forget those things. They really help with the flavor of this. I already had some quinoa going, and if you may not be able to tell, we are making a classic apple cinnamon big breakfast bowl, but instead of oatmeal, we are using quinoa. It is higher in protein and honestly just as bland as oats, so why can't you replace it with something that's actually better for you? So once my apple and my quinoa were done, I chucked it into my bowl along with some leftover raspberry cherry jam that I made for my breakfast video. If you need some breakfast ideas, definitely go watch the video. We got 5 delicious breakfast recipes. I topped this bowl off with some hemp seeds, some pumpkin seeds, and some sunflower seeds, and some almond butter. Can't forget about the almond butter. And this was my day one delicious and nourishing breakfast. Moving on to lunch, if you haven't been able to tell, I moved apartments, and this pasta was my everything but the kitchen sink pasta that I made the night before I moved. If you've ever moved, you know you have just random things in your fridge left over, so I threw it all into my pan, cooked it up, and then also used the sauce that I made for my eggs Benedict recipe that is also in my vegan breakfast recipe video. As a midday little pick-me-up, I had a green tea, munched on my pasta, and then I actually topped my pasta with a little bit of walnuts, just for some fun, you know? For dinner tonight, we are making a big batch of soup because it's cold in the winter, and soup is nourishing for the soul. So I diced up some onion, some garlic, and some potato, threw that into my pan along with a little bit of oil, and just sauteed it all until it got a little bit browned. But obviously the potato wasn't fully cooked because it's going to continue cooking in the soup. I threw half a cup of cashews into a bowl along with some hot water and let that sit aside while I was dicing up my broccoli. And yes, I'm using the stalks of the broccoli because you know what? It's going into a soup. Does it really matter? Absolutely not. Are they edible? Absolutely. They're delicious, nourishing, and you're minimizing your waste as well. Because my soup was going to take a little while, I had some fruit and some dark chocolate. Moving on to making the creamy base for this soup, instead of using coconut milk, which I feel like a lot of people don't really like, I decided to use these cashews. So we threw in some nutritional yeast and some Dijon mustard, blended that all up, and then we're going to throw it into our pot along with the onion, garlic, and potato. I threw in quite a bit more water, probably about 8 cups in total, along with half of a cup of green lentils, threw in my broccoli, along with, a touch more water, and a lot of salt. Do not be shy with the salt, guys. It's a big soup, and you gotta make it flavorful. To also add some flavor, I added some fresh parsley and some fresh chives, and let this simmer away until everything was fully cooked. But not mushy, okay? Don't make your soup extra mushy. Make it so there's still a little bit of substance there. So this little soup bowl is, well, it's exactly what I just said. It's a little soup bowl. So you know you're going back for seconds, and ate until she was fully satisfied and full. Take my hand and hold it tight. Good morning. I've been obsessed with matcha recently. I'm trying to cut out coffee. Because you know what? It just doesn't make me feel as nice. Matcha, just makes me feel so good and sustains me so much longer throughout the day than a cup of coffee. So I frothed up my spreaded pea milk with my French press to make this beautiful cloud. Added a touch of maple syrup, gave it a really good stir, and sipped on that and enjoyed. So I wasn't feeling a big breakfast right away, so I munched on a banana and had an orange until breakfast. Yeah. I chopped up half of a block of tempeh into little cubes, threw that into a bowl along with some tamari, smoked paprika, and some Cajun spice, honestly, just because I have it in the house and I never freaking use it. So I was like, might as well try this out. I added a touch of maple syrup, set that aside, and then we are whipping up some beans as well. Got some black beans with some onion powder, smoked paprika, salt, chili flakes, and then I threw in a little bit of vegan butter and threw that onto the stove on low heat. We're not trying to fry up these beans, we're just trying to warm them up and get the flavors infused, but we are trying to fry up these tempeh bits because, yeah. I also warmed up some leftover quinoa that I had from yesterday, threw that into my bowl once it was hot, along with some greens, my black beans, my tempeh. I also threw in some red cabbage sauerkraut for a nice little pop of color. I love colorful, beautiful meals like this. I squeezed on some lime, added a little bit of vegan mayo because I felt like it needed some creaminess, you know? So I had a cute little swirl here, and here we are. Day 2, big bowl of nourishing breakfast. So that big bowl of breakfast really filled me up for quite a while, and after that I was also feeling something sweet. So I threw in a bunch of frozen bananas along with some cocoa nibs, cinnamon, nutmeg, clove, and some pea protein, blended that all up until it was a beautiful consistency, added it to my bowl along with some blueberries because I wanted some fruit with this. It doesn't really go with the vibe, but I wanted blueberries. And that was our very simple yet delicious lunch. For dinner today, me and Mitch were on the road to go to his parents' house, so we stopped in at this place, and I was trying to take videos in the car after we had left, and it didn't really work out. I want to say I did not really eat that salad because there was way too many tomatoes, and my skin doesn't like tomatoes. So I had the French fries and the falafel with hummus and hot sauce, and that was my dinner. The next morning, once we were at Mitch's parents', we had a big old breakfast, and I was in charge of making this fruit platter. So I chopped up a melon, got some grapes going, some blueberries, some blackberries, an apple, and some gooseberries, all on this beautiful platter. So I decided to have a bagel and throw some avocado on it, along with a little bit of hot sauce, some spinach, had a bunch of fruit, and then I realized that his dad made a bunch of delicious fried up mushrooms, so I threw those onto my bagel as well. And that was it. Lots of fruit, a bagel. It was like a hotel breakfast, you know? Like, that was the vibes. That was the vibes we were giving off, and I was all for it. We're gonna go hang out in that thing.
You gotta get them towels.
Where are the towels?
In the bathroom. Good pick.
Yellow. Of course. Are you ready for this? Yeah. Ooh, flex. What?
Yeah.
I can't do that. Whoa! I can't believe you're walking in bare feet right now.
It's not even that bad.
Yes! It's bad.
Hey, kids.
Hey!
1 hour later.
My face is super red right now because we just went out in the sauna and hung out for a while, and then I decided it would be a good idea to roll in the snow after. I got it on videotape on my camera, so I can't wait to show you guys, but it was pretty crazy, not gonna lie. It felt nuts. Like, I just went into another world.
A little longer than a few minutes later.
If you've watched any of my other videos, I feel like you know it's not a Julia video without a hot chocolate, and the perfect drink after that whole excursion was a delicious hot chocolate. I make mine very simply with some cocoa powder, maple syrup, hot water, some milk, and there we go. I then wanted a little snack of some leftover fruit, and then Mitch proceeded to convince me to start drinking. Oh no. Oh no.
Sure.
Obviously, I'm kidding. I am a free woman and I can do as I please. And he suggested, and I accepted. His mom made this delicious, just so delicious, big spread for dinner with this French onion soup. Okay, this was incredible. It was the best French onion soup I'd ever had in my entire freaking life. And yes, it was completely vegan, along with these tacos. She made these jackfruit tacos, which she also made without tomatoes. So, you know, freaking God bless her. Thank you. I had 2 or 3 of these tacos. I honestly can't remember. Along with some guac, some pickled red onions, sauteed cabbage, and some red pepper. Added a little bit of hot sauce on mine because you know how I like to spice things up. And that was our delicious family dinner. Yum. And then was craving another hot chocolate, but I felt might as well, you know, spice this up in a sense. And I added some maple infused rye, this chocolate liqueur, cocoa powder, a little bit of maple syrup, whisked that up, threw in some milk, and this was, you know, an adult hot chocolate. And I was so for it. So Mitch's dad legitimately has a keg, like has beer on tap in their house. So, you know, I had to have a little bit of beer. And then me and Mitch loved this French onion soup so much that we went back, finished it, and that was our like movie snack. Such a weird movie snack, along with some pistachios because I was feeling chips, but we didn't have any chips.
Staring out the window, reaching for a North Star, waiting.
Whoa, that was a lot.
Just to wake up from this nightmare where you could be.
I said I was trying to quit coffee. I didn't say I did it all together. You know, it's a process. And I don't like to restrict myself from having things. I just want to limit the amount. Like, I was having coffee every single day. And that's just not, for me, that was not a good thing. That was an addiction, not a good habit that I was forming. So I'm allowing myself to still have coffee, but not as much, not every day. As you see, I'm making myself another bagel with lots of goodness. Some pickles, some parsley, some pickled red onions, some spinach, some mustard, some avocado. Well, I should say leftover guac. And I don't know about you, but I really do love mustard. Mustard and pickles together, for whatever reason, just hits different for me. Some people may think I'm a literal psychopath when I say that, but you know what? It's freaking delicious. But it's also freaking delicious, I'm so sorry for saying that so much, is this sweet and sour soup that Mitch's dad makes. He makes a big batch of soup and then he sets some aside for me because the soup actually has eggs in it, but obviously he set mine aside before he added the eggs to the entire batch. And on this particular night, me and Mitch were in charge of dinner, so I decided to make some gnocchi for us all. I got a head start at dinner, peeling the potatoes, boiling the potatoes, and allowing them to cool before I started mixing them with flour because, you know, you shouldn't be mixing hot potatoes in with flour because then you're just cooking your flour and it's a whole mess. So I boiled my potatoes and then I threw them into the ricer and allowed them to cool for about an hour and a half. I'd actually never used a ricer before, and I gotta say this was thoroughly satisfying and a very fun tool that I need to get in my own kitchen just for the sake of making things squirt out of the sides of it. I felt like a little kid playing with one of those Play-Doh toy things. I let Mitch's mom have a little sip of my hot chocolate last night and she absolutely loved it, so I made us both one tonight. Again, it's a little bit of maple infused rye, some chocolate liqueur, some hot water, some cocoa powder, maple syrup to taste, and obviously some milk as well. I feel like it really suits the cabin vibes that Mitch's parents have going on here. This cabin has a crazy, amazing story that his mom has told me, and I'd love to relay it to you guys one day. Maybe I can get her to tell you it, but it's a really cool story, and they've put so much work in restoring this old cabin, and it's just so homey and cozy and cabin-esque. What can I say? We're in northern Canada.
No.
So to talk about the gnocchi a little bit, I just kept on adding flour to the potato mixture until I got a proper consistency. There was no rhyme or reason and or plan or measurements with this.
Butter? That was all emo on me. I'm not emo, I'm goth.
I gotta say though, the dough was really giving me a hard time because of the mass amount that I was making. It was just really sticky and it took me a while to figure out.
Good?
Yep. Yeah, I get it. Nice.
Don't do just that or more.
You only put 3 in?
Yeah.
Put a few more.
Okay.
We're making a massive thing of pesto. There's a lot of things going on here.
What's a good one? There.
So with the gnocchi, we're having a bunch of veggies and a pesto. In my pesto, I threw in some fresh parsley, some kale, along with some dried oregano, a dried Italian spice because we didn't have any basil in the house, unfortunately, along with a decent amount of some lemon juice and lots of oil, a 1/4 cup plus a bit more of good quality olive oil. I swear to you, an olive oil can make or break a pesto. I also threw in some cashews and some walnuts for some nuttiness and a little bit of creaminess in it as well. And of course, don't forget your salt and your pepper. Heavily salt, heavily pepper. Once I got the dough into a good place, I allowed it to rest, chopped it up into smaller pieces, and then started rolling it out and cutting it into little gnocchis. I had Mitch on the boiling the gnocchi process while I was cutting them up. And then once we had a bunch of them cut and already starting to boil, I cooked up the veggies, sauteed up my onion, and then once that was done, I threw in a bunch of my mushrooms. We got portobello, shiitake, and just brown button mushrooms. And then once the mushrooms started to brown, I added my balsamic vinegar and my onions back in. And then we set that all aside and started frying up our gnocchi. I 100% advocate you to boil and then fry. Obviously, if they are gluten-free gnocchi, please don't boil them because they will turn into a pile of mush. I've done it before and I had a lot of regret. Once we had fried up all of our gnocchi, I threw in the pesto along with a little bit of water and a little bit of balsamic vinegar until it was nice and hot. I rewarmed our veggies, threw my gnocchi into a big bowl, and yes, there was a lot of gnocchi, and yes, we had leftovers. I went ham with making my gnocchi. I severely overestimated, and you know what? You live and you learn. Threw in my pesto, threw in my veggies, and then we were ready to eat. I need like a drizzle of balsamic.
Oh, I would have that too.
Yeah, that'd be good.
But I do have a slight addiction to balsamic vinegar. I got to admit that. And I'm happy that his mom and Mitch decided to indulge my addiction as well and enjoy it themselves.
No, I don't have cable, but I'm willing and able to watch what's on your mind. I find out.
So as you can tell, I am now home. And if you haven't been able to tell, I'm in a new apartment. If you have not watched my moving videos, definitely go and do so you can see how cute I have set up my new apartment. But yeah, me and Mitch made it home late last night, so I had a good sleep and started my day off with a matcha. I forgot to bring my matcha to his parents' house. That's why I didn't have it over the last couple days. But as soon as I got home, that's what I knew I had to have. This morning, I wasn't really that hungry for breakfast, but I had some leftover bacoras that I had to eat. I think the reason I wasn't all too hungry was just because I didn't move very much on the weekend, and that was my body's way of saying, hey, I'm not burning as many calories as I'm taking in, and we gotta balance ourselves out. And I'm not saying that whatsoever with a bad mindset around food. I'm simply just saying that when we eat intuitively, we can trust our bodies in knowing when we're hungry and when we're not hungry. And I just wasn't very hungry on this particular day because I wasn't burning that many calories over the last few days. It is completely normal for our bodies to do that and adapt in that way. However, it does become a problem if we are overextending ourselves with exercise and activity and then not fueling our body in return. So my overall message here is to nourish your body with foods that make you feel good the majority of the time, but don't stop yourself from indulging, having fun, and living your life. It is all about balance, my friends, when it comes to food, when it comes to mindset, and so many other things in life. But moving on to dinner, I sliced up a big old eggplant, added some salt to it, and let it sit for about 20 minutes, patted it dry, oiled a baking dish, and then cut my eggplant in half. And then just started vertically laying the eggplant with some onions, some tofu, and some basil as well. And then I just kept doing that until my entire pan was full and packed. It doesn't have to be perfect, but what I did was eggplant, onion, tofu, basil, eggplant, onion, tofu, basil, until, like I said, the entire dish was packed full. I also did this in another dish as well because I still had a lot of stuff to use up. I then drizzled a mixture of Dijon mustard and balsamic vinegar on top of it, along with a little bit of dried oregano as well. I then had the genius idea to crush up some cashews and add some nutritional yeast to them and make some sort of cheesy-like textured topping for this all. There are many recipes for this type of thing out there. It's like a vegan Parmesan cheese almost. Threw this on top of my mixture and then chucked it in the oven.
Whoa.
So I had these black beans in my fridge that I honestly just had no idea what the heck to do with. So I decided to mash them up, add some fresh chive and some fresh basil to them, along with some tamari and some lemon, and make some meatballs out of them. I added some quinoa because I thought, hey, what the heck? Let's have fun. Let's experiment. I also added some smoked paprika and some chili flakes and a little bit of salt as well. I definitely added a little bit too much salt because tamari is already quite salty, so these were a little bit too salty for my liking. However, they still ended up damn delicious. The flavor was there. It was my mistake. I should have just taste tested the batter before, but that's besides the point. I heated a pan with some oil, threw my black bean meatballs in them until they were all golden brown, plated up my eggplant mixture dish, which turned out really beautiful in my opinion, and honestly, it was so simple, yet very, very flavorful for what it was. I feel like you wouldn't expect it to be all too flavorful, but with all of that fresh basil, the balsamic vinegar, which is so, so flavorful, and then that Dijon mustard, it just all came together in a really delicious way. I also realized that I did not tell you how long I cooked it for. It was about 35 minutes at 375 degrees Fahrenheit. But obviously, just keep an eye on it because every oven is a little bit different. I really hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and I want to remind you to nourish your body and your soul. It's completely possible to do both. Eat foods that make you feel good, but also taste delicious. If you could do me a quick favor and hit that like button and that subscribe button if you haven't already, it truly supports my channel and just lights my heart up. I hope you all have a beautiful rest of your day, and I will see you again very, very soon for many more videos to come. Lots of love.
And if you could read